So the whole vampire chic thing kind of passed me by. Not just the Twilight movies and the HBO series True Blood either. I never got hooked on Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire series either. Vampires? Yuck. I think the last vampire movie I enjoyed was the Dracula remake starring Frank Langella back in about 1980. And I only liked that because I worked at a movie theater in college, the World Park Cinemas 4, if you were there, in Gainesville, Florida. And during opening weekend, many of the guys taking tickets were dressed as vampires and could get away with lots of heavy breathing and biting pretty young girls on the neck, gently. So I was surprised how quickly I devoured the first 4 books in Heather Brewer's 5-book young adult series, The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd. Heather and I share a literary agent, Michael Barrett, and he recommended the series. Now, I trust him with my career, so trusting him with suggestions for my free time seemed just as reasonable. And, as usual, Michael was right. Now, we meet Vladimir Todd in the 8th grade, a half-human, half-vampire, trying to find his way in the world of middle schoolers. Now, having a daughter in 8th grade naturally heightened my own interest, but these are damn good stories, vampires or not. Now, I've got a short clip here of Heather Brewer talking about Vladimir Todd. Listen to this.
10th Grade Bleeds is my favorite Vlad book yet. It has the most blood. It has the most action. It has the most fight scenes. It's got the most romance. It has the most of everything. If you like Vladimir Todd, you're going to love 10th Grade Bleeds.
Okay, I guess we
don't.
don't.
The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd is...
Well, let's just skip ahead then. Heather literally just finished the 5th and final book in the series, and I look forward to hearing about that, and some other potentially explosive news that her fans will enjoy. You can learn more about Heather on her website, www.heatherbrewer.com. Heather, welcome to Mr. Media.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you. How you been?
Oh, I've been good. I've been busy.
That's what I hear.
I actually just wrapped up the final edits on 12th Grade Kills, the 5th book in the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd, so I'm tired, but I'm happy.
Well, and I was going to say congratulations, first of all, on the on the success of the first 4 books, but even more so, I know that this last book has been like giving birth, from what I hear.
Oh, it's definitely been like giving birth to 8 children at once. You know, I think it's kind of stressful to finish up a series sometimes, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to find out where you're really going with it. So I made it.
Did it give you kind of a newfound respect, if you didn't already, for J.K. Rowling wrapping up the Potter series? Oh,
absolutely, and it also made me say, I never want to finish another series again. I'll just keep writing the books.
Did it always? Now you start with 8th grade, and I think if you are catching this on video, if you watch your screen during the course of this half hour, you should be able to see the book jackets that go along with the Vladimir Todd series. They're very cool, very minimal, and very cool. But the books start in 8th grade, then 9th grade, 10th, 11th, and the next book, the final book, will be 12th grade. But did you always intend it to be a 5-book series? That's pretty ambitious, if so.
I knew it would be a 5-book series because when I had the idea for the story, I knew how it would begin, I knew how it would end, I knew major points that I wanted to happen throughout the story. And I said, well, how long is it going to take me to get there? And I said, well, it's going to take at least 5 books. So I wanted it to be a school-based series. And so I just basically counted backwards, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And initially he was actually 14 when the series started. And then they said, my editor said, now he's 13. And I'm like, all right. You know how that happens.
So you added to his life a little bit.
Yeah, and it actually works out really well because 13 is my lucky number. So, I've had a lot of luck with Vlad.
What was it that made the final book so challenging, though? I mean, you'd written 4. You obviously, anyone who's read these knows how intimately you know these characters and what they're all about.
Well, see, that's exactly, I think, the problem. When you know characters really well, they become a part of you, and they become a part of your life. And the very idea of letting go of those characters, because you're friends with them. I know Vlad. and he's always there in the back of my head and commenting on things and snarking on things. And to know that I was going to end his story forever, it's just a little daunting. So I knew the things that I wanted to say in the story, but going about how to say them took me a long time with this one. But I'm very, very happy with the way it turned out.
Now, I'm a little concerned because you just said you were going to end his story forever.
Now, see, everybody wants to know, too. They all ask me, is Vlad going to live? Are you going to kill him? And I'm like, well, you'll see.
I mean, that was the big guessing game with the last Potter book. Was Rowling going to, kill him off or let him live? And, well, he lived, as I recall.
And my whole tagline has been from the beginning that I don't believe in happy endings unless they involve blood. So everyone will just have to wait and see if Vlad makes it.
So even if I told you that no one's listening right now, you wouldn't just tell me you knew.
Oh, I totally wouldn't spill it at all. There are very few people in this world that know how the book turns out. My husband, Michael, our agent, of course, and my editor. That's it.
What, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what is it, because I know that you thought that you were done several times in the process, without getting into the story details or, too much, can you give us kind of some insight into what, made the book keep coming back to you, why you had to keep working on it?
Well, I changed the way that I wrote for some strange reason, because normally I write from beginning to end. I can't write, certain scenes or anything like that. I have to start at the beginning and go all the way through as if I'm reading a story. And for some reason this time, I wrote the last half of the book first. I think I was just anxious to get to it. So I wrote the last half of the book first, and then I wrote the first half of the book last, but I didn't write it, chapter 1, chapter 2. I kind of bounced around chapter 3, then chapter 1, then chapter 7. And it really screwed with the way that I normally write, so I think that kind of had an effect on the manuscript. But I figured my way through eventually with a little guidance.
Were you ever concerned that it was not going to turn out the way you envisioned because of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been the book that I've been building up to, the one I've been dying to write, knowing how it was going to go, knowing this is what I want to really write about, but I have to get through these first 4 books first. And then I sat down to write it, and it didn't go well. And then plus, in the middle, I changed editors. So, different editors have a different point of view and a different way of looking at books. And so I got a whole new set of questions, and that made me question myself, and it's been a long road, Bob.
I cannot imagine. And folks, if you haven't read these books, you really should. It's they have the young adult fiction tag on them because they are intended. Obviously they're for kids that are, eighth grade through senior in high school. But it's very mature writing. I mean, it's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Although there's a little bit of that, but it's just really compelling stories. I mean, my daughter started reading the books first, my 13-and-a-half-year-old, and she was just like, "You got to get started on this." And we got all 4 at the same time, and she read one a day for 4 days, basically. And I thought, what is in there? What I mean, is it releasing some kind of a drug on her? Why? That was the pace she went through the Potter books. And, then I read them. It's good stuff for anybody. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Well, there are a lot of vampire books out there now, and they all seem to tell the same story. They tell the story of the girl that falls in love with a handsome vampire. And Vlad isn't like that. He's just a teenage boy that happens to thirst for blood and have fangs. And he's really immensely unpopular, and he's just going through his life and looking for acceptance. And I think that that's something that really appeals to everyone at any age. Whether you're a tween, you're a teen, you're an adult, that's something that we all want. We all just want to be accepted for who we are. And luckily, with that connection, I'm connecting with my minions, I don't have fans. I have minions.
I noticed that. I know there's references on heatherbrewer.com to your minions. How many of them have you taken a bite out of to have them committed to you?
Oh, I'll never tell. No, we have a really good time. You know, they love being called my minions, and collectively they're the minion horde. And the great thing is when you have minions, you can send them forth to do your bidding. Mm-hmm. And my bidding is go and create other minions and get them to read my books. So it's working.
You're devious.
I like to call it crafty.
Crafty. Okay, we'll go with crafty. When you do a series about vampires, if you did one book, you might be able to just get away with throwing out a couple things and making it very Bela Lugosi and not have to hew to any particular details. But what I'm curious about is how much did you create out of whole cloth about what vampires are about, and how much did you research? I mean, it's not like there's, well, who knows? It's not like there's real vampires out there that we can study, but you make this case. And I don't want to give it away, but I mean, you create this whole nation of secret vampires and slayers, and how much of that is taken from research? How much is taken from your imagination?
Well, for me, I've always been fascinated by vampires, and not just like the vampires in fiction, but vampire lore, the history of where it came from. Why did people at one point in time believe that vampires were real? And so some of the lore is just really stupid. Like, there's this one story that says vampires can't cross running water. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because how do vampires travel? So for me, poking fun at some of the vampire lore really was a big part of creating this world, and asking myself, what if vampires were real? How would they live in our world? How would they live amongst us? And what would their rules be? They have to have laws, because I'd imagined that they were really just a sect of society. Mm-hmm. And so it just took a little bit of imagination and reaching back into the vampire lore, but I like to think I got it pretty close, if there really are vampires out there somewhere.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to the Mr. Media Radio interview with Heather Brewer, author of the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd series for young vampires. I'm sorry, I mean for young adults. That's right. We'll be right back. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to the Mr. Media Radio interview with Heather Brewer, author of the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd series for young adults. Now, earlier in the show, I had thrown it to a short video clip. I want to go back to that because I inadvertently stepped on it before. So this is a short video of Heather Brewer explaining a little bit about the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd.
10th Grade Bleeds is my favorite Vlad book yet. It has the most blood, it has the most action, it has the most fight scenes, it's got the most romance, it has the most of everything. If you like Vladimir Todd, you're going to love 10th Grade Bleeds. The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd is primarily, I would not say it's a vampire series. I would say it's a series about a boy named Vlad Todd. Vlad is just like any other boy. He's awkward, he's shy, he doesn't know how to talk to girls, bullies pick on him, he's failing math, and he happens to drink blood. I've always been drawn to darker things. I've always been drawn to things that aren't the norm, things that are more in an outcast setting. And I think that comes from me being an outcast growing up, because I was very unpopular in a very, very small town. I grew up in a town population 814 people. I was the least popular person in that town, picked on daily, so I was certainly an outcast. And so when I look for things to read, I look for outcast characters. I think that that's something that my readers look for as well.
Heather, I understand you may have some big post-Vladimir Todd plans, and I didn't run this by you ahead of time, so I don't know if you can talk about this or not.
I can talk a little bit about it because everything's all signed, sealed, and, well, soon to be delivered. But, yeah, I do have some big post-Vlad plans. For one, I have a spin-off series from the Vladimir Todd series, and it's going to be called The Slayer Journals. It's going to be about a certain character from 9th grade slaves. I don't want to say who it is because it could give away secrets if you haven't read that book. But There will be 5 books in that series, and it starts September of 2011. And then I have a different series called Bloodbound, and that one's a little bit different. It's about a girl and basically these horrible monsters she has to face and these secrets she has to uncover in this strange world. But that will start in October of 2011, so fall of 11 is going to be very, very busy for me.
I see. Now, how many of these books are done, or have you not started yet?
I'm actually writing both of the first books of those series right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's scary. They're actually due on the exact same day, too, so it's kind of funny.
It's weird. Now, has Hollywood come calling about the Vladimir Todd series?
Well, I don't know if Hollywood's calling yet, but they might be knocking on the door. I really can't talk too much about it, but hopefully there will be some very, very good news to share with my minions soon.
Very good. In the book, one of the things that struck me early on, and it's one of the few things that threw me a little bit off, is that there are references in the book to locations that seem to reference old vampire movies. And I wondered if looking back, if that was, if that was kind of a mistake, or, why would places in town be named that way? Just coincidence? I don't know.
I love throwbacks. I am a huge fan of throwbacks. And whenever I read stuff, like if you read Stephen King, there are certain things that come back in different stories that aren't attached. Like Bob Gray, who was Pennywise, appears both, of course, in It, and he also appears in Dreamcatcher. Little tiny throwbacks like that, just they tickle me pink. And for me, I wanted to give throwbacks to the vampires of old, you know what I mean, to the fictional vampires that really just made me very happy when I was younger. And so naming the town Bathory after Elizabeth Bathory felt very natural to me. Naming the street Lugosi Trail after Bela Lugosi, of course, was just one of those little thank yous from me. And, some people have said that they didn't care for it. Most of the minions have said that they love it, and they love looking for all of those things because they're kind of hidden throughout the book. Some of them are a little more obvious than others.
And there is a character whose name seems to be a bit of a bow to a television
yeah,
vampire.
And you're totally right on that. It absolutely is.
Yeah. And we won't go into that. I don't want to give anything away. But people who've read it know what we're talking about. And people who haven't now have to go out and read the books.
Right.
One of the things I really liked is you handle relationships. Well, first of all, I almost forgot about this. The main character, Vladimir Todd, is a young man. You, to the best of my knowledge, have never been a young man. And I thought, my first thought after, I think by the second book was, I thought, wow, how does she know what's going on in a preteen, teen boy's mind so well? And then you handle the relationships between this boy and the rest of the world. Really, I don't know where you got that from.
Well, for me, I think that relationships are everything, no matter who you are. It's how you interact with your friends and your enemies that really shapes your life. And just because Vlad happens to have fangs doesn't mean that he doesn't have feelings. And so the way he interacts with, like, say, his best friend Henry, of course, is very different than the way he interacts with other vampires or with the pretty girl in class. And so it just was very natural for me because I feel like I'm part Vlad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That part of me that never felt like I belonged anywhere, that's Vlad. And so, it's just another reason he doesn't fit in anywhere is because, he's got fangs, so he doesn't fit into the human world. But then he's also half human, so he doesn't fit in with the vampires. So that internal struggle really, I think, makes him pretty universal.
Now, one more question before we let you go. I know you don't refer to your fans as fans, but as minions. I imagine you get some very interesting minion mail.
Oh, yes. Actually, several times a week, I get emails from vampires that tell me I've gotten the story pretty close to the real thing. So, I don't know if they're actually vampires, but just in case they are, I make sure that I read them all and take them to heart.
Got it. Well, folks, listen, you can find the first 4 books in Heather Brewer's hit series, The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd, at great bookstores everywhere, or, of course, you can order it online at mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. Oh, I didn't even ask you. I think that the final book will be out in December, or is it later than that?
No, 12th Grade Kills is actually going to come out on my birthday, September 21st, 2010.
Oh, my daughter is going to be excited. Her birthday is September 25th. She will be very excited. So there you go, Rachel. Happy early birthday. That'll save me a lot of money. I can afford one of Heather's books. And folks, one more thing. You can learn more about what's going on in the life and career of Heather Brewer at her website, www.heatherbrewer.com. And Heather, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to spend time with you, and I expect we will probably talk again.
Thanks so much, Bob. I had a great time.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And for more original interviews with young adult novelists, you can surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com. That's where you can listen to my earlier conversations with Lisa McMahon, James Dashner, Sarah Czar, and many more.